The lords of this car from the icy north have deemed Andy T an honorary Finn, and last week he performed like one. Pole, fastest lap, and every lap led gave Andy a perfect score to kick things off. But the first step to repeating that today will probably be that critical pole position. It's notoriously tough to pass at Laguna Seca, so let's see who gets that vital top spot as we get ready to watch round 2 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and joining me in the booth is Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Laguna Seca's rise to prominence in the American road racing scene has made it a favorite of fans and drivers. Let's head to our track eye to see what's so special about it. Welcome to Laguna Seca. Located just east of Monterey, California, it's hard to deny that this is one of the more scenic American road courses. It travels up and down a hillside which not only offers spectacular views, but one of racing's most iconic corners. Clocking in at 2¼ miles in length, 11 turns split up the current configuration. I say current because up until 1988, the track's layout was shockingly simple with a mere 9 dangerously fast corners. But despite becoming a much more technical track, this difficult nature was retained in its modern form. Turn 6 in particular places an emphasis on precision and daring with its tricky dip at the apex and narrow racing line. But the most well-known spot on the track is of course the corkscrew. Blind and kinked on entry, it then whips the driver through a chicane which drops you nearly 60 feet. It's earned a reputation worldwide for forcing even the most daring competitors to second-guess themselves. But there's honestly a refreshingly wide variety in types of corners, making it a perfect track for driver coaching and training. Elevation changes, differing cambers, and every sort of apex imaginable leaves seasoned veterans and newcomers alike spending hours trying to perfect a lap. With the track becoming popular for hosting IMSA, IndyCar, and MotoGP in its recent history, it also brings out lots of vintage racers due to the Monterey historics each year. Likely to remain a fixture on the American racing scene, this legendary circuit is almost always high on drivers' best of lists. Its history and its uniqueness are sure to delight all for years to come. Well, Joey, I always love seeing open-wheelers come to this track, mostly because of the fact that it just feels like it fits, and I think the 79 is going to feel right at home.
The Lotus 79 and Laguna Seca definitely are a warm and cozy fit with each other. Think of it almost like a big go-kart and a really cool racetrack, and these cars have been racing here for a long time, actually in the old Laguna configuration, but here we race the new Laguna Seca at 11 turns. You see it just over 2½ miles, but points to watch out for: that Andretti hairpin turn 2. It's always a choke point, especially on cold tires in the first lap. Watch out for people getting in too deep. And then also coming down the hill after the corkscrew. That's through turns 9, 10, and then through the final turn, turn 11. Another big opportunity to jump down in the brakes. But guys, we always talk about the corkscrew here at Laguna Seca, one of the most iconic corners in all of motorsports. I'm sure we're going to see some cool shots of it today.
No doubt about that, but they'll have to try and get through there pretty quickly as we are in qualifying. However, before we show that, we do have the championship standings. Now, as I said, Andy T, perfect points. If you're checking in and have used to previous seasons in the Sunday Grand Prix Series, you might be wondering how he got 85 points. Well, they've changed the point system, so that'll be a talking point throughout the season, no doubt, is how that will affect it. A little bit more on hand, and that puts them well ahead of Tolanen, Leno, Freesia. But we're not seeing a lot of them here today because we're racing the Sunday Grand Prix Series on a Friday. We'll talk about that in a bit. In the meantime, let's take a look at the F2 standings.
F2 standings, here we got JF Godin, followed by Miguel Moreland, Olivier Verhagen, Mike Christopher, Joe Walker, and several more that they're just kind of peeking in here. Looking at timing score, and looks like we do have a few. I see Mike Christopher Jr. out there. Also, don't forget about some of these names a little bit further in the pack, but really everybody just starting to get settled in now that we've only done one race so far, Joe.
Yeah, and well, today's race for the second one, as you can see on our race details here, has 26 laps to compete on. It is an open setup series. It's a very friendly series, too. So those open setups do tend to get shared around as drivers want to try and help out newcomers, since it is very tight knit, so that more people feel welcome. No spare car, though. So if you damage it, which is easy to do at a track like this, you basically have to take it into pit lane, get those repairs, or just park it for the rest of the event. Drive-through penalty at 17 incidents, disqualification at 25. With only 26 laps, not anticipating that being as much of a problem, but hopefully nobody is really racking them up that quickly. As here we see the temperatures on the circuit. Nice day for racing here in the middle of winter in California. 81 Fahrenheit on the track itself. We'll see if they can find the grip on a circuit that is notorious for seeing the wind whip that sand onto it, though. In the meantime, Kimmo Viekainen on his first lap, Joey, good enough for fifth. We'll see if he can go higher than that.
One of the regulars in the series. Kimmo always has really good speed here. Comes up to the corkscrew. This is that famous corkscrew where you charge all the way down the hill, all the way down through turns 9 here, still downhill into another banked turn 10, still downhill. It kind of flattens out here into the final turn 11.
That's one of the spots we're expecting some passes to take place when they are able to manage it. We'll see if anybody does that. Ooh, Nick Thiessen comes up into second here, and it looks like Viekainen faster and good enough for the front row, but he is still 4/10 off Andy T, who still has his second lap to go. And here he is on your screen right now. As we said, the Finns have kind of adopted him in recent years, and as he flies across the line, it's a 1:09.9. That's 0.2 quicker. He is now a full, just about 0.7 faster than the next car. It looks like he'll be the one to beat today.
Joe, it's a little bit like deja vu. Andy T showed up last week and he did the same thing. He stomped the field in qualifying by then, I think, about 0.4 of a second. And a track like Laguna Seca to have a near 0.7 of a second lead, that's huge.
Yeah, that is highly unusual for how quick it is around here. It's a 1:11 for Finnegan on his second lap. That bumps him up to ninth. Rasmus and Cooper, the only two yet to set a time. I don't see Mike out there, but Max is looking like he's on a flyer, but actually he just spun as we watch Ryan Walker out in the old Lotus colors there on it, but he's already taken both of his laps. So for some reason, he's practicing the pit entry. Hopefully you don't have to do that today because we're not expecting one. What about Keith Herner? Yeah, he's already finished his too, so he's just out there putting in some more practice laps. So I believe our grid is pretty much set from here. And on the pole, Andy T has a significant margin over his rivals. Kimmo Viekainen is going to try and chase him. We'll see what he can do from there. Looks like he's got a bit of a gap to third, with Nick Thiessen being already 0.9 off the pole and about 0.3 off of Kimmo Viekainen. Juan Costa, who tends to be pretty quick, is going to start from fourth, as Timothy Reed will be P5, and Timothy Vaughn starts in sixth. After that, Mike Christopher Jr. starts seventh. The F2 driver really punching above his weight class there. Danny Hugendorn, starting from eighth position. You've got Nathan Finnegan in ninth, and Tomas Bartfai will round out your top 10, Joey.
In the 11th spot, looks like we have Andreas Schuster, followed up with Ryan Walker, Olivier Verhagen in the 13th spot, Dennis Cornu in the 14th position, Barry West rounding out the top 15, and looks like we have a few more back here. Keith Herner, Johannes Korth, and then looks like Mike Rasmus didn't turn a time, but Max Cooper, I think, snuck one in at the end, and looks like we're going to have probably 19 cars out there.
Sadly, Max did not manage to get around in time, so he also failed to set a lap, and Rasmus will be a little bit more hindered. He's rated 9th out of the field in iRating. Max Cooper is last of the field, but this is top split, so there's going to be plenty to fight for here, even if you're farther down the order. So hopefully Max can stick with it, see if he can gain anything from the back of the field. Also, I mentioned a little bit earlier, it's Friday right now. If you're watching this live, obviously you know that, but if you're watching it later, I might be wondering why it's a Friday that we're doing this. Well, it's Christmas weekend, and obviously we don't want to make any staff at GSRC as well as any of the drivers have to give up a Christmas morning to go out racing. So having a bit of an unusual one here to kick it off early for the weekend, and then from there it'll be whether or not anybody can take advantage of this slightly different grid, and Korth is certainly not going to on that lap as he nearly puts it in the wall through the corkscrew and is already done with his qualifying regardless. So that'll be a lesson of what not to do, of which there are many in the corkscrew, Joey.
It looked a little bit like a Zanardi line through there, but no pass and didn't kind of pull off the exit. I think Korth out is just kind of getting some practice out there. I know we're running out of time. It looks like we're officially out of time, but something I want to speak about, look out for those curbs. Those orange Apex breadbox curbs can really hurt these cars.
Yeah, that's a good point. From what I was told, and I don't know if this is true or not, those were put there to try and help as a driving school track at times to try and help drivers know where to try to aim for. But I don't know how accurate that story is. But I do know in the sim, they tend to be a nightmare unless you're on a very pliable car. You can see them already starting to line up out here for the race itself. Only second of the season. It's a question mark on whether or not Andy T will be here for the full season, but he's definitely stealing points early here, Joey.
He's just had dominant speed last week. He has dominant speed here in qualifying, and I don't think anything's going to change in the race. We'll see if he stays mistake-free, though. This is very tricky circuit, and it's easy to push it over the limit.
Exactly, and we have seen him make those from time to time, so it's not highly unusual to see him have a little flub out there. It's just whether or not he'll give up enough time or hurt the car enough, if he does even have that mistake. We're waiting for that front row, Viakainen and T, and then we've got an open gap for Mike Christopher Jr. back there in 7th, as there's our pole sitter. Andy T is now out on the circuit. So Viakainen and Christopher going to make us wait till the very end here. There's Christopher Jr. out there in 7th position. And for at last, the Finn, who has about 20 seconds, finally puts himself on his spot. The engines now start to rev, and the lights come up for round 2 of the Sunday Grand Prix Series, and the green flag is out off the line. It's a decent start for Viakainen. He starts to gain a little bit on Andy T, but he still has that inside line coming down into the braking for the Andretti hairpin. Oh, but deep on it, Viakainen going to challenge him. Can't quite keep the grip the long way around, and he falls back to P2. Looks like it is a mostly clean start behind them.
Mostly clean indeed, a little bit 2 wide, 3 wide further back, but all the cars are pointed the right direction. Really impressed with the launch out of the top 5 as they continue single file, headed down towards turn 5.
Couple cars dipping the wheels into the dirt, but I don't see any spins up to this point as we exit turn 5 up towards 6. A huge climb up the hill towards the higher part of the track and the highest bit at the corkscrew. Bad run for Viakainen. Here comes Costa. He knows this could be critical getting these positions early, but they're going to come together, popping them up into the air, and the Finn flies off into the gravel.
Extremely unfortunate incident as they were coming into the corkscrew for the brakes the first time. I just think I saw some neck code, and unfortunately Kimo got the hard impact into the gravel.
Well, we're going to take a look at that in a bit here, but you can see what this did to him. And he is now down into 19th, last on the field. He'll have a lot of work to do from here. Costa survives it into second. Shades of Hamilton and now I can't think of his name. There goes my analogy. Regardless, back at Spa this year in 2022, being popped into the air. But T has a lead of 1.7 seconds over Costa. Peterson is back in 3rd, holding on to that spot from where he began, and Reed dropping off of him.
Yeah, and it looks like here Mike Christopher Jr. is trying to get around Timothy Vaughn, tried to go around the outside of turn 5, but ultimately ran out of track. Vaughn hangs on to the 5th place position. Ooh, looks like Christopher Jr. ran out wide, and that's going to give an opportunity to Hugendorn.
Yep, he's going to get up into 6 by that one, just easily slipping past. I wonder if that's going to be the big way to make those overtakes, just people losing it coming through turn 6. It was Alonso I was thinking of that made that contact with Hamilton at Spa this year that popped Lewis into the air. Hugendorn, excuse me, carries on. Let's take a look at the incident. From what I understand, a lot of net code involved in this one. Actually, no, we're looking at Hugendorn here. Oh, no, we got a problem with Herner. Here we go, Kimo Viacana. Now we're looking at the car that we were wanting. So Kimo, another one that just had a little bit of a bad run out of 6, and then taking advantage, Wanmi goes side by side. There's only so much space on the right-hand side of the track, and yeah, that's big net code.
And I got a feel for both competitors because they were both leaving room. Kimo left room on driver's right, and Wanmi left room on driver's left. It was just a case of the net code that sent Kimo flying.
Can I get one more look at it? Yeah, that shouldn't have sent him off, unfortunately, but that's the nature of racing online. Hagendorn loses another spot. Once again, he's down to 8th. Finnegan going to race side by side with him. But, and Tomas Bartfai is suddenly off the course as he comes back on the track right as the cars approach up into the corkscrew. He's down to 14th as now Hugendorn also had a bit of an off coming through the corkscrew. Already we're seeing this tricky track catch out a lot of drivers.
Yeah, it just looked like Hugendorn was taking a look down the inside and ultimately took the Zanardi line through the corkscrew, but it didn't pay off. He lost a bunch of positions from it.
He got away lucky, though. I don't see any damage on the front wing. From what we understand, that's supposed to really bend it up pretty badly, but looks like he's going to have to fend off Mike Rasimas, and he is going to hold the 9th back in that 12th position. Viikainen has been charging through the field. He's up to 16th behind these guys. Ooh, that was way off course there coming through turn 3.
You gotta use every inch of asphalt that you have out here at Laguna Seca. It's a pretty small racetrack. It's a low lap time, and if you don't maximize your entry and exit curves, you're leaving mile per hour out there on the table.
Timothy Reed up a position from the start here. As just ahead of him, things looking pretty sketchy out there for Thyssen as well. He's holding on by about half a second as they fly through turn 10. And then down into 11. Certainly not close enough to attack this time around, but still plenty of laps to go.
And to go along with that point, so you use all of this exit run, and most of these cars are really going to be set up with a high downforce setup, so that helps you really be aggressive with the race car and racetrack.
Look at him gain here. It's down to 3 or 4 tenths here in the first part of the lap. So it looks like Reed has got a fair bit of pace as they swing it through turn 3. These two going to keep it on the circuit at least compared to Hugendorf. And then back out through 4. Now he starts to lose some time, unfortunately.
It's all in the ebb and flow with this racetrack. It seemed like Timothy Reed was really good on the brakes coming into the Andretti hairpin. And thinking about it, you're going to be coming up to the corkscrew here. It seems like he holds pretty steady through 6, and we'll see if he takes another big lunge in this brake zone.
So we continue to ride on board. Love the shots of this car as you watch over the shoulder. Really shows you how visceral it is, and especially at this track. But out of Rainy Curve, still having to sit and stay patient while they try and battle for what is essentially going to be best of the rest.
Coming out of turn 11, it's so important to really manage your right foot, because you can get wheel spin so easily and just roast those tires, and you need the traction to get that launch down the straightaway.
Back into the Andretti hairpin as they swing through the double apexer. There you can see on board with Nick Thyssen here in that 3rd spot. Driver well known here in the sim world for a lot of the work he does for third-party apps. And as the Benelux driver can see from the rear wing, he is certainly being hounded by Timothy Reed. Coming back up the hill, he'll have to try and stay perfect out there. You talked about needing to really push the limits. The one thing I guess that he does have for him here, Joey, is that even if he doesn't push himself all that hard, it's so difficult to pass here. He's got that track position.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Track position is very important at Laguna Seca, and It really is a single lane racetrack, especially with all of the elevation changes. It throws off all of your visual cues, and you almost have to wait for a mistake out of somebody in order to get up alongside. And then, even then, it's not a guaranteed pass.
No, it is not. Staying just about 3 to 4 tenths of a second apart. Andy T keeps chopping off at the fastest lap, a 1:11 flat last time by. Next nearest driver, where's Viakainen? What kind of laps he's done? Yeah, he's not even close to that. He's been fighting through the field and might have some damage as well. Looks like an 11.5 is the nearest at Juan Costa in second. There's the distance he's been putting between them. It is already 4 seconds apart, and we're on lap 7.
He's really just kind of putting everybody else to shame out there. Andy T is on rails. His car is hooked up. He's on another planet. And yeah, the lap times that he's putting down is over a half second faster than anyone else on the racetrack.
Just unreal pace out there, as he's looking like he might take 2 perfect scores in a row the way things are going, unless somebody can maybe snatch that fastest lap. 2 bonus points for that away from him. That hasn't changed from previous seasons. Battle for 8th position. Andreas Schuster at the front of it. Actually, you could say for 7th, really. Nathan Finnegan just in front of them. In fact, a whole lot of cars here, all in line. About 4 of them together. Back to Walker behind Verhagen and Schuster as they cross the line once again. One of the few places to maybe try and sneak by drivers here into the braking downhill into the Andretti hairpin, but Schuster's not close enough to that red and white number 13.
No, not quite close enough yet. I've kept my eye on this battle, and it really has been these 4 cars kind of line astern the whole time. I've been waiting for Schuster to get up a little bit closer, but Nathan Finnegan is doing a great job. He's just being that immovable rock out there, turning consistent laps, hitting his marks.
Seems we've had our first serious problem because Barry West has been in pit lane for about 2 minutes. Not exactly sure what happened to him, but he might be our first retirement unless he can get back out there.
Yeah, here's the opportunity. Finnegan ran wide through turn 6, Schuster up the inside, and that's going to give him the 7th spot. Curious to see what Andreas's pace is now that he's got some clean air.
Yeah, that's always the giant question mark. If you're stuck in a train of cars, are you faster than everybody that's around you and you just can't show it yet? He's certainly putting some distance pretty quickly between himself and Finnegan. Behind them, Verhagen and Walker are still glued together. And then they're being joined by Hugendorn and Rasimas. So we might replace the one lost with 2 more and have quite a battle reemerging. Ooh, I think Walker wants to spot over Verhagen. Oh, he gets chopped off at the apex big time there.
Yeah, that's coming down into the Andretti hairpin, one of the slowest sections of the racetrack, and always a big opportunity. Your eyes get big. Oh, there's a spot. Let's take it in deep. And often your nose gets chopped.
Well, and it's a late apex from my experience. Maybe I'm just driving it wrong too. So it always feels like to me, Joey, that you can maybe get the nose in there.
I think that there's a few ways that you could drive it. You could leave the door open and really late apex it, and that allows these drivers behind to almost double apex, dime in the corner where you come in early, let it drift out wide, and then come back in for that second apex.
Hugendorn loses another position to Mike Rasimas in the number 9 up the Rahal straight as we continue to watch the cars just in front of them between Walker and Verhagen here. Still quite a train that is not as tight-knit as what we saw earlier, but it's definitely still kind of hovering around. To answer our earlier question, Schuster's not been able to drop them. It's about 0.6 of a second and hasn't gotten bigger than that.
And looking at the lap times, Andreas Schuster 113.1. Nathan Finnegan, the car that he passed, actually did a 112.9, so a good couple tenths faster than Andreas Schuster. You're right, this battle isn't going anywhere for this 7th place between all 4 cars. And Joe, you're a prophet. Look at that, cars 5 and 6 catching up.
Yeah, Schuster's going to have to really be flawless out here. Doesn't want to open the door for Finnegan to try and sneak back through, especially since he can't seem to catch up to Mike Christopher there in P6 as we watch Finnegan swing it through turn 6, a terrifying turn, especially in this car. I was told the first few laps, all it is a lift.
It's got to be sketchy through there. I know that in turn 6, through various different cars, it tends to be a little bit of a break, but these cars have high downforce levels. It very well could be.
Ooh, worth a replay for Ryan Walker. He's now lost a spot to the number 9, who continues to charge up through the field. He started from 12th position, and this is a good example of just how tough it is trying to go through turn 6 that you're going to see. Here we go. So this is coming up to 5. This is Walker. He's going to have the off track. And it starts innocuous enough, Joey, but it seems to almost compound itself as the exit of the corner goes on.
Yeah, looks like he didn't get the apex, but if you just run out that little bit, you get out in the dirt and it robs you of all of your exit speed. You can't get on the throttle, so it costs you everything down the straightaway, and look at that. There goes a car right on by.
Great job by Mike to really pick these up bit by bit. As soon as he sees an opportunity, he is not wasting it. As I said, really just absolutely running through this field, up 8 spots from 18th after failing to qualify here today. Andy T with another fastest lap in the meantime, up at the top. Ooh, big tail wiggle there for the 7 car as Walker's trying to keep up with Racimos, but maybe pushing a little too hard.
It's always just trying to keep up with the carrot out in front of you. And I think some of these cars, I'm not sure if they're dealing with a little bit of lap traffic, or I think it was actually Finnegan and Verhagen out there that were battling for 8th place through turn 11. I think Olivier just kind of got in too deep right there.
Yeah, it certainly seems to be the case. And I see Verhagen missing. Did he get into an incident or did he lose connection here?
I think he lost connection, Joe, because I was on him and he was going down into the Andretti hairpin and he disappeared, and hey, we got him back.
Barry West being lapped by this group, which causes a bit of a headache for everybody. Hugendorn is now on the back of Walker. Both of them have had their fair share of troubles in this one, but so has Kimmo Viekainen. From the first lap going to dead last is at least up to 13th. But he's still 11 down from where he began. We'll see if he can manage to take advantage of the 11 and the 7 car, maybe battling a little.
We were watching Ryan Walker have that incident earlier, and then he's just kind of been struggling to get back up to pace. And here's Kimmo Viekainen in the 13th spot, catching Danny Hugendorn. And yeah, you're right, just right up on the back of him now.
Ooh, did we miss Reed going by Thyssen? So he must have had a problem. In fact, it looked like it was this last lap because that was 5 seconds slower than usual. Checking to see. Oh, it was once again out of turn 6. Here we go. And this is another super scary one. He did a fantastic job keeping this from becoming the end of his race. Let's stay on board here. I want to see the hands because he's going to do a full 360. Up to turn 6. Once again, just putting a wheel off to the right-hand side, but he loses complete control compared to what we saw with Walker. Catches it right before the wall. Woo! Nice job.
You can see how tough it is to manage that throttle when you're out there in the gravel, and he just got wheel spin. He was trying to bring it back onto the racetrack, trying to squeeze just a little bit throttle, and it looped right around on him.
Oh, and he's had another problem. He had a spin out of Rainy Curve. I almost wonder if he rage quit this one because he disappeared immediately. And he seems to be out of this race. Let's see here. Looks like the rear of the car quite loose after that spin. So this is up Rahal straight. He got it right that time. And then it's after the corkscrew here. This is going to be an incredibly long turn that's going to put a lot of heat into the right-hand tires.
Yeah, he's just going to get loose. You're going to see a big lazy slide, and then insta-gone right here. Nick Thyssen has had enough of Laguna Seca today.
He's our first official retirement. West is back out there, so he repaired the car, and he's going to try and pick up the pieces that Nick has left for him and at least get 18th. We'll see if anybody else retires from that one. Boy, the race is whipping by. They are a little bit shorter than what we experienced in previous seasons, as they're typically just over 30 minutes in length, but we're already past the halfway point here.
Yeah, we are past the halfway point, coming around to do lap 15 of 26, and I've kept my eye on Kimmo Viekainen back there. He's made his way up to the 11th because of that disconnect from Nick Thyssen, but he is around Danny Hugendorn and now chasing down Ryan Walker.
Yeah, so Viekainen has about a second to make up to catch up to Walker here. As we see on screen, this is Juan Costa in the number 5. He's about 10 seconds off Andy T, but he's dropped Timothy Reed by a decent enough margin that he's not really under any threat. It's going to be a bit of a dull race for him, hopefully, to bring it home. Verhagen, meanwhile, down in 8th spot, up 5 from where he began. It's going to be the battle of the hard chargers because Racimos is approaching, up 9 positions. Ooh, Viekainen just got by Walker, and Ryan's had another issue out of turn 3. He gets it whipped back around and on the circuit, but looks like we're seeing a lot of drivers start to lose handling late in this race.
Turn 3, I mean, all of these turns are tricky, Joe, but turn 3 is really tricky. You're trying to squeeze on the throttle coming out of the Andretti hairpin. Hit your marks as you dance the car back to the inside. It's so easy to get loose here. Does he hit the apex curb? No, just steps out on him, and around he goes with a little lazy spin.
Now, the community and iRacing do a great job coordinating to try and make sure that they've got sets for each season so that drivers can really hop in the car. So you've got default sets for each track for the season. I wonder if maybe the set for this one just gets pretty loose as it goes on. We've often heard drivers, Joey, talk about this car tending towards that as it gets lighter on fuel.
If it leans towards that direction, I think we're definitely seeing it. We saw 2 spins already from competitors, kind of in the same tendency, off throttle going to apex, which it hints at a loose car rather than the competitor getting on the gas. And the other thing to think about is Laguna Seca, traditionally a very low grip racetrack, and so I'm sure the competitors are also dealing with that.
Yeah, that's a good point, especially since iRacing recently incorporated the track polish out there. So if you're off the racing line, the difference in grip is going to be more distinct. So I wonder if maybe we're seeing them just dip their tires outside of the traditional racing line a little bit and getting caught out by that as we continue to watch the battle for 7th. That's Finnegan there in the red and white, Verhagen behind him in the white and blue, and then in the dark-colored car, that is Mike Racimos.
Verhagen now starting to apply the pressure to Finnegan in front of him. They've both been doing pretty similar lap times. Verhagen a little bit faster this last lap, but here as they cross the stripe on top of each other, 112.4 from both of the competitors.
Yeah, we're hearing from one of the regular drivers that couldn't attend today that it does tend to get loose a little bit late and rotates maybe easier than they'd anticipate. So as the drivers keep plugging away at this race, they're going to have to be wary into those braking zones, getting off the throttle. This group getting ever closer together as we watch from above, really showing you the gaps between them. Verhagen doing a good job catching up to Finnegan.
He's doing a great job catching up to Finnegan. Finnegan, like I said, he's kind of been that immovable rock up there, hitting his marks every lap. And somebody who's not hitting their marks, Juan Costa, last lap, 115.8. That's 5 seconds off of the normal pace.
Yeah, I'm double checking here to see if I can find a major incident. I'm guessing just an off or a spin of some sort. Yeah, another full 360. And again, at turn 6, some very lucky drivers on this one. We've also lost Johan Korth, who is officially retired from this race. So West has another driver he could maybe pick up, as I think we're trying to find the incident here for Juan Costa where he survived the spin as it happened down in turn 6. Looks like maybe having just a little bit of trouble, unfortunately. So we're going to come back live and not be able to show that one for the time being. About 9 laps left to go. Andy T, 15 seconds ahead, and actually lapping traffic. That might be the only thing that stops him here other than himself at this point. If he runs into traffic in a bad way, let's cross fingers that that's not what causes it. We don't want to see that happen.
I don't even think that's going to do it as he runs up on the back of these lap cars, 111.0. It's a half second slower than his previous lap, but guess what? even with him being held up. Oh no, looks like Andreas Schuster just went off at the corkscrew. I think he just outbraked himself and he's off at the corkscrew, taking the unconventional gravel route through there.
Oh, yeah. This gave up about 5 spots here. And I think this is all on his own. There's nobody around him as we see this replay begin. It looked like he was okay up through 6. Here's the corkscrew. It's curved into the braking zone. Oh, yeah. Once again, on the throttle there, or on the brakes there, it seemed to just go away from him.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. He was heavy on the brakes, and I'm not too familiar with these cars, but if I was on the box with a competitor out there, I would say, hey, let's start cranking that front brake bias a little bit forward. Let's get some stability in this car.
West now finally moves up into 18th now after going past the lap that Nick Disson has retired. And we come back to this fight. All 3 of them overtook the car that we just saw spin off. Verhagen past Rasimas, and he is going to manage to get to the inside, but the job is not done. Under braking down into the corkscrew. Looks like he has got it. So Mike gets another one. Now 11 spots up the order.
Turn 6. It is a cruel mistress today, and it has snatched up so many cars and spots out there.
Certainly has, as they come back onto the front stretch now. Mike now sees Finnegan in front of him. Can he reach 6th in these last few laps? After that, I don't think he's going to get many more unless there's a mistake from the 5 drivers in front of them. Mike Christopher is about 5.5 up the road from Nathan. So it looks like this is going to be the end of the road for Mike as he comes out of turn 3, just hovering around that red and white car. I think he's going to get him because, man, he's ran him down quick.
Rasimus looks really, really fast out there, and I think he's got a fast car come. About 6 or 7 laps left here. Coming up to turn 6, he's got to keep it on the racetrack. This is the problem area where we've seen so many cars go off, and look at this! He himself takes it 2 wheels in the dirt. Verhagen is going to have the door open, but not close enough to take a look down the inside of the corkscrew.
Mike tried to shut the door, but he goes in deep. Looks like he'll keep it together, and Verhagen's not able to quite get by yet, but that certainly scared him, no doubt, as he nearly lost a position he worked so hard to try and get for multiple laps, and doesn't want to have to try and repeat the feat. Back across the start-finish line, we are actually down to only 12 drivers left on the lead lap. Andy T has been just picking them off bit by bit.
Verhagen is definitely not done with Rasimus. I've been watching the battle, and Verhagen looks very strong on the brakes, but Rasimus just seems to have a lot of speed right now. We'll see if he can gather it back up. This is a new lap. You got to reset your brain and go out there and battle the car in front of you. Forget about Verhagen behind you. Go catch Finnegan again.
Coming down into the braking of 5 and then trying to accelerate out of it. It looks like Olivier is trying his darndest to get back up to him, especially at least keep the pressure on, because he's already seen Mike make a mistake once. If he can stay close enough to him and get another off track from him, he could maybe slip by next time. But the elf liveried car looks like he's starting to lose touch now with the number 9, and the laps are dwindling down as well. So if Mike Rasimas keeps it steady, keeps it on track, maybe he could at least stay in 7th. But I'm sure his sights are set on Nathan Finnegan here as we watch them from above come off to start lap 22.
Watching timing and scoring, impressive lap time from that number 9 machine, 1:11.9. That's fast enough for him to really be running in the top 5 right now. I think that he's got more speed than that number 13 car of Nathan Finnegan.
Don't need to go to a replay, but Keith Herner had a small off out of turn 6, caught it before it came to the wall, and is back out after losing his spot. He's down in 15th. Mike, in the meantime, is within 0.2 of a second. Does he try it here? Not quite yet, but look at that exit. He's right on top of him. The question is, will the downforce be there through turn 6, and can he withstand the buffeting of that dirty air? He does, but he's going to have to be brave to try and attack into the corkscrew. Let's see what he does here. No, he's not going to stick his nose out. He'll stay in line.
Not only that, but Finnegan moved over, kind of put his car right in the middle of the racetrack, says, no, you ain't going to shove it up here. You're not close enough. I see you back there, but come up and battle me. Don't lunge on me.
Back across the track down into the final turn. This is one of the more exciting battles we have here at the end. Tees are now 20 seconds ahead of Costa, running qualifying times effectively. So that's a bit of a dull one. We'll get back to them when we get to the finish, as they look for the braking into the Andretti hairpin. Mike thinks about it, shows himself in the mirrors, and then absolutely sticks his nose underneath the gearbox of Nathan Finnegan as he tries to see if he can shake him off the road. But Nathan is not being swayed. He's staying cool, calm, and collected at this stage of the race, which is what he needs to do to try and defend this spot.
Looking at where they're making this speed, Mike Rasmus seems to have all of the speed in the beginning and middle part of the corner, while Finnegan is doing the important job of nailing the exit. And if he continues to do that, he'll stay in front of Rasmus.
Yeah, we've seen just how tough it is to try and make those passes, especially now that Mike's up at the higher, sharper end of the fields, as he makes a mistake himself. And Mike loses a bunch of time down through the corkscrew. He's got to try and avoid those. He could maybe get back up to him, because we've seen him drop off a couple times already and just gobble that time back up. But once he gets there, it's just a brick wall.
It is, but look at what that mistake has done behind Mike. Verhagen is right there, and then check out who's in ninth, joining the party, Kimmo Viilakainen.
All right, so he's back to the top 10 here as they come up to Barry West, who tries to stay out of the way. Nice job by Barry, just trying to make sure that he's invisible to these cars. And yeah, so many drivers directly in front of Kimmo. How aggressive is he willing to be from here to try and get spots? Because there's multiple ones potentially he could do.
If I'm Kimmo, I want to get up underneath the rear wing of Verhagen right now, go force him into a move, and really the way that all three of these cars have been racing, you might be able to pick up the pieces and potentially end up in sixth spot.
Ooh, speaking of picking up the pieces, Mike was once again on a charge. Oh, and he gets a mistake out of Finnegan. There it is. That's what he's been trying for. And he loses 1, 2, 3, 4 spots, maybe even 5 as he whip turns back onto the track, and he makes contact with Hukendorn as we go to replay. Let's stick with this. As he tries to return, he gets into more trouble here, and Finnegan left feeling hopeless there in the gravel.
Not really much he can do. He's just trying to get it going on the racetrack in one of the worst spots. Nobody can see him there, and you're right, just gets collected by someone coming down the hill.
Let's see. Hukendorn looks, well, he tried to get going, but he's gone off track again. I think that car might be too damaged. And then Finnegan is into pit lane with a meatball flag. I think there might be too many. No, he could actually continue on. I'm not sure why he came into the pit lane unless the car was undrivable from there, because he could have actually gotten away with staying out on track and not be penalized for that meatball flag. But that has dropped yet more drivers farther down the order, meaning Viikainen's now up into 8th.
Up into 8th, and watching him, he's tailed off a little bit from Verhagen, but I know that we're on the last lap, and looking at our leader, Andy T, and timing and scoring shows just ridiculously fast lap times. 1:10.2 is the fastest he's got on the board, and he's not letting up.
Well, it seems like 2023 is going to be tea time once again, because that first race of the 2023 season was absolutely stomped by Andy here, and this one is just a complete repeat of that. Just 2 corners to go for the number 1 machine. And as he approaches the final turn, he's going to lap all the way up to Ryan Walker, who will be the last one to remain on the lead lap. Andy T takes back-to-back wins in the Sunday Grand Prix Series here.
In style, Joe, with a 1:10.1 fastest lap last lap.
Ooh, Hukendorn tried to finish the race, but I think he may have just blown his engine. No, he's still going. I saw a lot of smoke there. And Costa will follow him across the line. This is how far it was from first to second. Costa's just now getting through. And Reed will round out the podium in 3rd. We'll see if that winds up being valuable points. Certainly for Viikainen, who might still have one more. He's battling with Verhagen here. Can he sneak this one spot at the very end?
He's got one opportunity left, headed down into turn 11. We'll see if he takes the lunge. He's going to take a look down there, but no, he's going to capitalize on the exit. Verhagen way wide. Is it going to be a drag race to the line? I think Olivier is going to hang on.
Just barely, almost side by side at the line, but Chemo ran out of racetrack. That's going to end it. We're going to come back with more show, though, as we have driver interviews as well as the official results coming your way, so don't go away. Welcome back to Laguna Seca. Having just watched round 2 in the Sunday Grand Prix Series, Andy T basically ran away. He was only challenged there once into the first corner, and then nobody really saw him much after that. 22 and a half seconds ahead of Juan Mi Costa and Timothy Reed winding up third. After that, Vaughn was able to collect fourth, picking up a few spots over the course of the race. Same thing with Mike Christopher Jr. there, getting a top 5. Mike Rosimas was not able to get a time down for qualifying. Didn't let that stop him. He went from 18th to 6th. Olivier Verhagen couldn't stop him. He wound up 7th as Mike eventually worked his way past Verhagen. And Kimmo Viekainen had to do a bit of the same, but probably would have liked a better finish because he started from 2nd, had to wind up 8th after he wound up popped into the air on the first lap and had to climb from the very back of the field. Andreas Schuster was 9th, and then Ryan Walker had an eventful race that eventually saw him finish 10th.
First car lap down in the 11th spot. That was Danny Hugendorn, followed up with Max Cooper in 12th position. Dennis Cornu there in 13th. Tomas Bardfy, one of our regular F2 points championship contenders, there in the 14th place. Keith Herner rounding out the top 15. Nathan Finnegan, who was really running up in the top 6, top 7 most of the race, had that issue later, finishes 16th. Barry West, 17th. Johannes Korth, and then Nick Thyssen rounding out the 19-car field today.
And topping the 19-car field was Andy T, who we've got with us now. Andy, back-to-back Grand Chelems. That's a pretty good way to start. Is that your Christmas present to yourself?
Yeah, it must be. Maybe it's a Christmas present from whoever sorted the schedule out, because I'm really good at these first few tracks.
Well, that worked out well for you. You did have a little bit of a challenge from Viekainen there into turn 1. Was that ever in any doubt since he was on the outside? Or did you know that you'd be able to fend him off there?
Yeah, if you've got the inside into turn 1, especially lap 1, there's just no grip on the outside, so he kind of hung himself out a little bit.
You said things start off with tracks that are pretty good for you. We go to the Red Bull Ring for the next one. So is that a bit of the same deal? You thinking you're going to be able to make it 3 for 3?
I think we've been there 3 times in the broadcast, and I think I've won all 3, I want to say. So if I'm free on that Sunday, then maybe I have a shot.
Yeah, and when we actually go back to Sunday, did you have to do anything special to make some time to be able to get here for this sort of special Friday race?
Very understanding girlfriend. That's pretty much the gist.
I think she'll be more understanding for a Friday race than getting up on Christmas morning and trying to.
Yeah. Nobody should be racing on Christmas Day.
I'm hearing from Joey that you had a special shout out for your dog last time. Is there something we need to hear?
Oh yeah, I might have named her after this car. She's fantastic.
Oh. Wait. So you have a dog named Lotus?
Correct.
I have a dog named Lotus as well, actually.
Amazing.
And named after this car. So my wife will roll her eyes at that when I tell her that story. If she isn't already in the other room listening to me. Yeah. So Andy, congratulations. Great start to the season. Hopefully we'll get to talk to you some more.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. Shout out to everyone, the fam. You all know who you are. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.
That was Andy T taking the win today. Unfortunately, I guess everybody is off to try and enjoy their holiday a bit early, so we don't have any more interviews to do after this one. So a big thank you goes out to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. Thanks to the team today, Joey, Rob, and Dougie. And make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because as we said, next week, it's back to Sunday once again for the Red Bull Ring, January 1st, New Year's morning. Hopefully, people can be able to get up for that. It's 11:30 a.m. Over here in the States on the Eastern Coast. But be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.